One of these days I'll do it right. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. All right, someone's going to turn off their speaker. I'm going to take the roll call. Bailey,
Here.
Ms. Joy, Ms. Grove,
Here.
All right, well, we are, all right, so who still has it? Kathy, you got to mute your speaker. So we are just about to end our third week already of summer school. And if you've been around the building, it's really nice to see kids around. We can get a lot done when school's not going on, but it's also very boring around here and way too quiet. So to have the kids, we've been averaging about 120. We had between like 145, 150 yeses. There's always some like yes, but not 100% in, which is really good attendance for summer. You usually see like 65, 70% attendance in a summer program. I anticipate that next week will be our lowest. We are closed on 4th of July and the 5th of July, hoping that we'd have higher attendance those other 2 days, give the teachers some time off, and as well as the kids to enjoy it with their families. Really just been working on the math and the ELA. And then this year we added the 20-minute really it's a movement break, but it's also team building activities, which I think is really important that our kids don't always get. And so that has been going really well. We end July 21st. And it's just been Monday through Thursday for 3 hours. So it seems like a good amount. What we have found interesting is the students coming from Ridge Lawn. There are so many of them that have never ridden the bus before because they all walk to school. That first day, the kindergartners are like, oh my gosh, we've never done this before. That is one of the reasons we had every administrator and every secretary working the first week of school. And then after that, it's been an administrator and one secretary taking a week. So next week with the 2 days is my week. So I will be getting to go into all the classrooms. So yeah, but it has been very, very fun. The other big part that always takes part in the summer is the construction. And we don't have any quote unquote huge projects this summer where we're building classrooms, but the things we are doing, there are still a lot of important things. Like if you walk by Ridge Central, you will see the grout is missing in almost all the bricks because they've been doing the tuck pointing. You will notice if you walk around Finley or Central, there's concrete that is completely torn up. So I'm going to have Kathy kind of give an update a little bit on our projects. So if she wants to unmute, I will go ahead and mute myself.
Okay. The one you probably hopefully notice is our new carpeting here. We're getting new carpeting throughout the district and all the buildings, and some tile replacement. That is actually going relatively smoothly, aside from a couple of fire alarms that went off because of the dust. We are on schedule to get some classroom furniture at the middle of July, and that is going to be paid out of our capital projects. We will be asking the board to approve payment for that later in the meeting. So I'm kind of excited. This is that very, very long process. So we're actually getting some classroom furniture. So that's kind of exciting. Dr. Thorns mentioned the masonry. Things that we're still waiting on because of supply chain issues are the rooftop units and our upgrade for our intercom system at Ridge Lawn. So those are the projects we've been talking about. And then along the lines with the concrete, Matthew Paving is the company that's going to be doing our concrete and the asphalt work. And I don't know, there's an article in the newspaper that Local 150 is on strike right now, and they are the suppliers of some product that goes into the asphalt. From what I understand, the concrete is on schedule and they're moving along and are able to get all of those products. So we were talking with our architect, and we have a couple of options because we cannot get the exact material from the exact supplier that was quoted. And so our first option is to hold off. And just to refresh, all the parking spaces around the buildings are the areas that we're talking about. We're not talking about the area behind me or that blacktop over by Ridge Lawn. And so the one option is to wait, and we don't know what the price will be for supplies and or labor if we wait until next year. The other option that we really don't like is they can tear it up and then just put the first layer of rock down and wait. I think we're all probably in agreement that that is not the way to go, because the strike can last 10 minutes or it could last 10 weeks. And I don't think we want to open ourselves up to that. So then the two potential options are to get the same exact material. And from what I understand, it goes down in 3 layers. And it's a rock in 2 other different layers. And if we get the identical rock layers, I should say materials, from a different vendor, it would cost us approximately, let me see here. 22, I'm looking at right in front of me. I'm sorry. This is the 22? I'm sorry. That is 22,000. An alternative, in which is recommended by Corey, is there is a local supplier in Markham, and they can provide comparable materials. He originally said they were acceptable. Acceptable to us is not good enough. We paid for a product, and so we dug into that a little bit further. And he assured us that this comparable product, it's the same longevity. It's still going to look the same in 20 years. It's going to last as long. Now that does come with a price tag of $15,000. And there's 2 components of that: the material itself, because the vendor is just a little bit higher than our competitive bid, and actually the fuel surcharge to get it here. And so going through all of these options with Corey, he does feel the best option is to go with the comparable materials, which is almost $15,000. And what he did say is if we give him the go ahead, they can start as early as tomorrow and be done the week of July 11th. The original completion date wasn't until August 5th, so it really would be nice to get it done. And the money would come out of the contingency. There's a $30,000 contingency, and so we could, we would tap into that. Nancy.
Well, since they had to go up a bit on the project, can we just switch like that?
Yes.
And pay more?
Yes, and good question, because our contract is with the general contractor where they're subbing out the materials. So yes, and actually it doesn't even require board approval. It's just a change order, but it was certainly something that we wanted to bring to your attention, because $15,000. And my first question was, why are we on the hook for this? To me, when you get a contract, it should be, they are kind of taking on the liability. But it's not, because it's something out of their control, not necessarily an act of God, but something beyond their control. It is on us.
And it's not, it would behoove us to wait.
We really could. I mean, honestly, the strike could be settled tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah, and now what Corey did say is the majority of the time of the project is the tear off. And he did say if we moved along with the tear off and started right away, if by chance the strike was settled, we could go back to the original vendor and we wouldn't incur that $15,000. Certainly can't guarantee that though.
I don't know a lot about
Right.
the strike, I guess, so that's, I'm just curious.
Mm,
And we're
yeah.
not crossing the picket line.
Mhm.
Thank goodness.
Oh, I don't know.
They're the company that's outsourcing it, so
Okay,
they get to really
Mm.
choose who they.
all right.
I get what you're saying. though.
Yeah.
It's a union
Yeah.
Company and then we're going with. the
Sure.
union,
We
So,
get paid.
Yeah, it would be
Daily
different.
wage.
It would be different if the MAP paving was on strike and we said, well, we're going with someone else.
Mhm.
But I don't see.
It doesn't bother me, but
No.
I don't get in trouble.
Mhm. Right, right. So does anybody have, I know it's a lot of money. It's $15,000, but I do
It's $15 more.
$15,000 more. Yes. Now, the bid contained the contingency of $30,000. So we still would not exceed our amount. But that being said, once they start tearing things up, we really don't know what to find, which is why we put in a contingency. I mean, it's, nobody likes to start taking that money right, half of the contingency right off the bat. And we certainly can wait, and kind of take our chances.
Next year.
I would have to say,
I didn't even wait till next year, I
Yeah.
wait like 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Like, I was just,
yeah.
because you said possibly
We might do
tomorrow.
while we're in session either, right? School's out.
No, we would, because we need the parking spaces.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
But it was originally allotted to be done at the beginning of August. He's saying that before tomorrow, it'd be done in like a week.
Right, we could finish up the project a couple weeks earlier. And what I'm thinking is if they can't get material, these guys are probably sitting around wanting to work.
Is it gonna affect any of the other work going on now?
It
Are
shouldn't.
they gonna be driving over
Mhm.
this stuff? and it's gonna-
Yeah, no, there shouldn't be, because like when we come to work, we'll just have to be directed to park on here and we'll have to make some accommodations. So the timing of it isn't an issue. To me, it's the cost.
Yeah, is there, we can talk with Corey, if we waited 2 weeks, will that screw up the timeline in any way?
Well, if we push it back 2 weeks, then we're probably close to that August 5th substantial deadline, completion date, which is still okay. During August is when the principals start coming back, the assistant principals, secretaries. So the buildings do get a little busier.
By mid-August, that teacher's coming back, so
Mhm.
if it goes long, better mess.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's whether or not Corey has agreed on the whole situation. you know?
And I
If he
do,
feels
yeah,
like, no, I got the.
yeah, and I,
This is gonna be going on, we just gotta move forward. I mean, this is not my wheelhouse, you know, this is his wheelhouse.
yeah.
And I will say that the article that was in Southtown last Thursday dealt with exactly this. The Village of Oak Lawn has not started any of their projects because they don't want to start and then be stuck.
Mhm.
So I think just in reading that, there's probably a chance that it will last longer.
So his recommendation is to
To
go
move forward
ahead with the
comparable.
comparable,
Okay.
if that's,
Thank you for
That-
indulging my question.
okay. I learned a lot. I learned a lot in the last couple of days. Okay.
You have anything else, Kathy?
Nope, that was it for construction.
6-0.
Yeah, 6.0, potential board action to cancel the July 12th, 2022 board meeting. As I had shared before, we have really only held a July board meeting to make sure we paid our bills. In talking with 14 other surrounding districts, none of them have a July meeting on the regular schedule, including 218, which has millions of dollars of bills every single month. So just wanted to find out kind of where or how they got around making sure, because you do still have to pay the bills. And really, we would have a potential board action to cancel the meeting. And then the next agenda item would be the potential board action to approve all the expected and educational bills. If we had larger ones, we would obviously still let you know. So we would just make sure that we had approval for that so we could pay and stay open as a school district.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mr. Melkowski,
Aye.
Ms. Joy,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Mrs. Lebudzick,
Aye.
Mrs. Grove,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye.
And then 7.0 is the potential board action on the advanced approval of expected bills and payroll for July 22 and expected educational expenditures for Chicago Ridge School District 127.5 and the Eisenhower Cooperative.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mrs. Joy,
Aye.
Mrs. Lebudzick,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Grove,
Aye.
Mr. Malkowski,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye.
And then 8.0 always has been in the past, the board has granted the superintendent short-term hiring authority. And usually we wait till the August meeting so that if anything happens between then and the beginning of school, we are recommending moving that up only because in our climate that we're in right now, if a teacher, even if they sign a contract and they hear that the board's not able to approve it for 4 or 5 weeks, they're going to still be looking. So we want to be able to say, nope, we've got you locked in, you're good to go, you have a job. There will still be official approval at the August meeting, but you are good to go. So that's why we're suggesting we move that short-term hiring authority up. So just looking for a potential approval of that.
I'll make the motion to approve the short-term hiring.
I'll second.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Mrs. Grove,
Aye.
Mr. Malkowski,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Ms. Joy,
Aye.
Mrs. Lebudzick,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye.
And I'll let Kathy take the next couple. We have IRS mileage and dial path.
This is basic. but
Yeah. Yeah, it never happens though at this time.
Okay, so 9.0 is potential board action to approve a new IRS mileage. Traditionally, this comes out on January 1, and for in-employee travel, we tend to use the the IRS guidelines. And for the first time in, I don't know how long, they're actually approving a new increase for July 1st. So the rate for reimbursement for mileage is going up from 58.5 cents to 62.5 cents. So I would, with the price of gas, I think this is a realistic option. So we'll be asking the board to approve that. And then 10.0 is the approved payment to DialPath. Last time we talked about, we approved the monthly contract for our IT management services. And so what we traditionally do is we just put it all in the end of our fiscal year if money is available. So we would be paying all of FY23 on this voucher, which is part of why that voucher is a lot of money.
We get approval for the IRS mileage rate of 62.5 cents effective July 1st.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Mrs. Lebudzick,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Ms. Joy,
Aye.
Mrs. Grove,
Aye.
Mr. Malkowski,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye.
And then 10.0 potential board action to approve payment to DialPath in the amount of $120,824.64 for annual renewal of IT managed services for the 22-23 school year.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Malkowski,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Ms. Joy,
Aye.
Mrs. Lebudzick,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Grove,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye.
And 11.0 is the potential board action to approve the payment to Interiors for Business in the amount of $316,457.94 for the classroom furniture at Ridge Central and Ridge Lawn. Yes,
I'm gonna do before and after pictures for the website.
before, after for the furniture.
I think the furniture and the construction too, or like improvements.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
that's a great idea.
that's a good
We
idea.
never did
Yeah.
that before.
Well, just to show people where the money goes.
Yeah,
Here,
yeah.
That's a great idea.
$316,000 for
Mhm.
furniture. It's like, what kind of furniture is
Yeah,
that?
it's a great idea.
We get to get those before it's quick.
Save
Mhm.
some memory on that camera.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Plan of film.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Mrs. Grove,
Aye.
Mr. Malkowski,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Lebudzick,
Aye.
Ms. Joy,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye.
12.0, we've been talking about this for a while, but in our technology replacement cycle, our staff will be getting the new laptops. Those are 4 years old. And we had talked about beginning by selling them to the teachers if they were interested. Called around to other districts to find out what a 4 to 5 year old laptop was going for. Most districts were going between $75 and $100. And I personally would recommend 75, knowing that a lot of these are going to need a new battery unless they are plugged in 24/7. And a new battery for these is about $37 to $40. That would come, the teachers would sign off saying that the district will completely wipe all of the computers when they come in. They will not be able to come in and have them serviced by anyone here. It's buying it as is. If it breaks 5 days later, that's too bad. If it lasts 20 years, that's fantastic. But so I would recommend a board action to sell them at $75 a piece.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Does that money go back into technology?
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Ms. Joy,
Aye.
Mrs. Grove,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Mr. Malkowski, Mrs. Lebudzik,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye.
And then we all love 13.0 our policies. And what we did find out is
Second read.
you no longer need to do a first, second reading and approval. You can do a first reading and an approval. So after, hopefully this will be our last time, unless there's ones we need to talk about further. But if you remember, 2230, question is, would the board like to establish a maximum time limit for public participation? And we said, no, that means we already have the limit of 5 minutes or 3 minutes. But we don't want to limit the number of people who can talk. And then 580 basically had allowed teachers, if they had to go to court, especially if it's related to school, that they still get like credit for being here. But it was only teaching staff. And now this is saying that this would credit everybody, which we are in full agreement. And then the 7285 was asking for making sure that we had EpiPens, and we have adopted that. And I double checked with our nurse that we do have additional
We've had
EpiPens.
that.
We've had it for a while. And I know some districts still say they have difficulty getting it, but Katie, I mean, if Katie, our nurse, has been fantastic during the entire COVID, and she is always on top of things. And so we have it ready to go at all 3 buildings.
Do those expire?
They do. It's
Yeah.
right around a year. So she keeps up on that and makes sure we get the replacement. So
Are they still as expensive as they were, which is ridiculous?
they're not at the like $400 now, but they're still, I mean, you're
That's
talking, you're
ridiculous.
still talking quite a bit.
Because
We
the
had
first
a,
time I got one, I think I paid $30.
yeah. I think right now you're about between 100 and 120 that you're paying. So,
I can't have it anymore.
so we are looking for a potential board action to post for a second reading or adopt. I would recommend adopt the following policies.
Go ahead, Jen. I'll make a motion to adopt the following policies.
Mrs. Lebudzik,
Aye.
Mr. Malkowski,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Grove,
Aye.
Ms. Joy,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. Closed session.
So we are looking for a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of the discussion of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. However, meeting to consider an increase in compensation to a specific employee of a public body that is subject to the local government wage increase Transparency Act may not be closed and shall be open to the public and posted and held in accordance with the Open Meetings Act as defined in the Open Meetings Act, Section 2C1. The discussion of collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees as defined in Section 2C2. The discussion of the purchase or lease or real property for the use of public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired as defined in Section 2C4. The discussion of security procedures, school building safety and security, and the use of personnel and equipment to respond to an actual, a threatened, or a reasonably potential danger to the safety of employees, students, the staff, the public, or public property as defined in Section 2C8. We will not be discussing any litigation or student discipline during this meeting. Can we get a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make a motion. I'll second the motion.
Ms. Joy,
Aye.
Mrs. Grove,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Lebudzik,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Mr. Malkowski,
Aye.
and Mrs. Salzer.
Aye,
What time is it?
6:56.
All right.